This is going to be a spoiler review for the movie Materialists, directed by Celine Song. I kind of really liked this movie when it came out. It's a full 2-hour movie, but it blew right by for me. I meant to do this spoiler review when the movie came out, but it just got away from me. There's a lot of stuff coming out at that time, and I wanted to go over some of the themes and why I liked the film. So if you're familiar, Materialists is the story of Lucy. She's a matchmaker who lives in New York City, one of the most expensive cities in the world. At the beginning of the film, she gives her card out to a eligible-looking, good-looking man that checks her out, and she makes quite a decent amount of money. However, she has to go to a wedding of someone she matched. She found a really good match for a client of hers, a really rich man. And at the wedding, she meets Harry, the brother of the groom, who takes a liking to her, played by Pedro Pascal. He basically wants to use her services, but then admits to her that he likes her. And, you know, he's a unicorn, she says. He's, tall, handsome, rich, doesn't have a drug problem or an escort problem. He's everything that a woman could want, especially someone her age. So she plays someone who's 35 in the movie, and she's 35 in real life. However, at the wedding, one of the caterers is her ex-boyfriend, John. John is a humble man played by Chris Evans. They broke up because they were broke and she couldn't deal with it anymore. He's struggling with, these catering shifts, but he's also trying to write a play that he's also starring in because it's something that they both wanted to do when they moved to New York many years ago. So basically, Lucy dates Harry after they put all their cards on the table. They have a passionate night together, and she would love to go to Iceland. That's kind of like her dream destination, so he literally books a trip for them to go, and she finds a ring in his bag. He plans to propose to her immediately, and she's not really sure what to do because she's shaken up by an incident at work where one of her clients, Sophie, was matched with a doctor, and he wasn't a doctor, and then he got drunk and groped her in the washroom. So she's finding herself, sort of in a professional pickle because she feels really guilty about it and everything. And however, John keeps popping back into the picture. He's living with 2 other roommates in a really crappy apartment that he's still He's still in the same apartment that they were in. And a love triangle forms between John, Harry, and Lucy. The movie definitely defies a lot of conventions and expectations of a rom-com. The movie trailers made this out to be like a rom-com with a material girl in the trailer. You watch the trailer, you think it's a rom-com. Why wouldn't she choose the super rich man? Why would she go back to her ex-boyfriend who's a bum? At the end of the movie, basically, what happens is Lucy decides to not marry. She confronts him, basically. They're sleeping. You find out that he was actually 6 inches shorter, and he did this really expensive and painful operation to make himself taller. And she doesn't care, though, but the reason why she doesn't care is because she doesn't love him. She's enamored by his money, his looks. They'd make a great couple, have a couple kids together, but she does not have that spark of passion, so she does not want to marry him. So they were supposed to go to Iceland, so she subletted her apartment for a week. So she goes back to John, and he's still in love with her, and they decide to just drive and crash a wedding and maybe get back together, but then he freaks out on her and goes like, why are we going back through all this old sort of stuff we've done before? Because we broke up before because, you don't want a poor person. However, Sophie calls her out of the blue. She has no friends, and she's being stalked by that fake doctor guy. So Lucy and John drive back up to where she is to comfort her and stay with her over the night. And Lucy makes a decision to be with John, even though he's super poor, super broke. They're going to make it work. And then they cut to the next scene. She's going to be getting a promotion to be in charge of the matchmaking operation in New York while her boss is going to Europe. And then John comes by, and I guess they're just going to take it from there. So a lot of people didn't really get some of the themes in the movie. There are scattered throughout, but this is not your conventional rom-com. Obviously, Celine Song, Past Lives was not your usual love triangle sort of movie either. It was a personal story. Materialists is definitely about materialists, but it's also about taking risks. There's another scene in the movie where she sort of romanticizes putting herself out there and quitting it to being brave. I think she's talking to Sophie maybe at the beginning of the film or someone else, but she's basically saying that it takes a lot of guts to put yourself out there and to risk being hurt. And it seems cheesy at the time because she's equating dating with like being brave, but she does have a point because it's something that she also believes in, and it's why she made that choice of why she's with John. If she were to marry Harry, it would be a very easy, and basically make life simple for her. She'd never have to worry about anything, but there's also no risk. There's also no chance of anything going wrong. I was honestly waiting for that button, waiting for that red flag to show up where Harry says like, oh, by the way, after we get married, you're not allowed to work, or I want you to have 3 kids, or I don't want you to have any kids. I was waiting for Harry to have that sort of thing that would just be like, ew, you'd be super controlling if I married you, I don't like this. But that's a cliche, and it's not in the movie. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Harry. She just doesn't love him, and that's the reason why she doesn't choose him, because there's no risk. There's no chance of anything going wrong, and she doesn't love him. It's just the way, it's as simple as that. With John, there is a lot of risk. He's got no money. He's got $2,000 in his bank account by the end of the movie. He's living with roommates. Most likely, it would end up being an awkward thing. Like the epilogue of this movie would probably be John moving in with her because he can't afford his own place, and it'd be cheaper. And then, of course, he's kind of like not the breadwinner of the relationship, and it might lead to them having some conflict down the line if he can't get to her level in terms of money. If they want to have kids together, they want to build a life, have a family. Meanwhile, with Harry, if she were to marry him, it'd be like easy. It'd be easy. She could have 3 kids if she wanted. If she, wanted to quit matchmaking and say, hey, I want to start my own business, Harry, he'd probably just write her a check, and she's smart and savvy enough to know that, she's not going to be wasting his money. And I really like the small conversations that Lucy and Harry had about the pragmatic, why do you want to choose me, why he's a unicorn, why he wants to be with her, and he lays it out pretty flat. It's kind of like, it's supposed to be cold and calculating, but they have such good chemistry. I mean, Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal, they're very good looking people, so you're supposed to be like, acting like he's like this is going to be a cold, miserable relationship, but he seems so warm. It's definitely, same with the sort of dissonance with Chris Evans too. He's supposed to be like this bummy loser, well then you look at him, he's bearded Chris Evans, he's so handsome and good looking, it's really hard to buy that. Same for Lucy. She's supposed to be like, I'm a terrible person. I just care about money. I'm a materialist. And Dakota Johnson's beautiful. I find her very attractive. And so the movie just, like, it feels really at odds with itself. Oxymorons for the casting and the characters, but I don't know if this was done on purpose or if this is just something that just happened. I think it was done on purpose. It's supposed to be like this. You think this is a love triangle, but then it's not. Let's talk about Sophie. Sophie, I find, is the worst part of the movie. I remember reading an article about a real matchmaker, and they're asking her opinion about the movie Materialist, and she's like, yeah, that would never happen. The whole fake guy pretending to be a doctor, that would never happen. And so I kind of felt that was a little bit of a hiccup of the film, because it's a very serious matter. But then it also ends up being the sort of not get out of jail free card, but it ends up showing John that she cares about her people, and it just felt really cliche. And they even have the whole, oh yeah, I got Harry on another date, I got Sophie on another date, they're going to be fine. The movie does play along with the lines of, you'll eventually find someone if you just keep trying. And there's even like a monologue by Sophie saying like, I'm deserving of love, yeah. And it just felt really like cloying. Didn't like that character. It felt really cliche. I mean, no wonder she can't find anyone. She doesn't have friends, and like, it just feels really like really shoehorned in at the end there. I was actually kind of hoping that Lucy would date neither, and she'd be like, "Oh, John, take me back," and he'd be like, they have that scene where they crash the wedding after, and I thought he was going to tell her off, but then they get interrupted by that Sophie subplot, and then everything's okay. But it could have been okay for her to not get anyone, to be honest, right? I mean, she's supposed to be this materialistic person, so I would have been okay with another subversion of she doesn't get either. She sends Harry away, and then she's like, John, take me back, and he's like, nah. That would have been an option too, to be honest. I think it should have been. But overall, Materialist is definitely a lot more complex. It's definitely not perfect. It's very uneven in the way it portrays love, and it has a lot of stuff. I really like the twist of the operation, because they're talking at a party or something about like the Gattaca operation where you break your legs and then you stretch your body, and then you have to like heal to get 6 inches taller. And women do care a lot about height. It's a very serious thing. People act like short people are monsters or something. It's really weird. But you know, it's just it's the shallowness that she's trying to talk about in the movie, and I really enjoyed the film. And that's my spoiler review of Materialists.